And welcome to Ready, Set, Jets. Every week, we're taking a deep dive into the most recent Jets press conferences and analyzing every word, every pause, every hidden message. And for that, we turn to a 10-year NFL vet, former Jets quarterback, and analyst on Jets Late Night, Jay Fiedler. Jay, you ready to unearth some hidden truths here?
Steve, good morning. Let's get after it.
All right. Well, look, there's plenty to talk about after what we saw in this last game, and I think that the Jets offense was certainly done in by turnovers against the Chargers. 3 times they were at the 50 or in Chargers territory and fumbled the ball away. 2 of those by Zach Wilson. So head coach Robert Saleh was asked by Newsday's Al Zone if the Jets are running out of time to wait for Zach to get to that level they need him to be at.
It's not always on the quarterback to win and lose football games, but he is, at the end of the day, we are being put in position where in the fourth quarter we have a chance to go take a game on offense. And, I thought he did a great job, obviously, in the fourth quarter and overtime against the Giants to give us a chance to win that football game. Obviously, it's not the greatest show on turf. Obviously, he knows that there's a lot of things that he can do better. There's a lot of things we can all do better. And, yeah, he needs to get better. He knows that. But I wouldn't. I know the knee-jerk reaction happening along the offense in terms of the lack of continuity on the offensive line and those guys trying to get their feet underneath them. He's doing the best he can, but again, he still needs to get better.
Okay, he's laying it out there pretty straightforward here, but I think that the length of Zach's leash corresponds with the separation between him and his backup. So is there any suggestion or anything you heard in Saleh's response that might suggest he's closer to considering a quarterback change?
Well, look, I think that always is going to be a week-to-week decision from the head coach, and obviously it's a lot in the difference between the starter and the backup, or the perceived difference between the starter and the backup, because sometimes you just don't know until the backup gets in what he could do with this offense. Right now, just based on practices and based on what they've done in the offseason, coaches obviously think that Zach is still the guy to go forward. And I don't think these questions would come up if they won the game. They were on a 3-game winning streak, and there weren't very many questions about replacing Zach. It was, yes, he has to get better. The offense does have to get better. And then all of a sudden they lose a game like they did on Monday night, and the Wolves are out to get him. So I think Coach Saleh is being reasonable and giving a little hold your horses statement there, and allowing Zach to really take the reins of this offense and go forward. And watching the film from Monday night, there were a lot of easy plays that need to be made in this offense. And, some of it comes from Zach, some of it's from the receivers making easy catches out there. They had great momentum going until Garrett Wilson fumbled the ball early on. I think that was a drive that, if he doesn't fumble there, they had some pretty good momentum going into that drive, and that could have changed the outlook of the game. So, and then certainly Zach needs to do a better job protecting the ball himself. He had a couple of those fumbles later on in the game as we went on. Yeah,
just protecting the ball, getting himself out of situations. I think the big fear here is that there is a sunk cost fear in that they may have put so much into Zach that they don't want to move on from him just yet. But we have seen other quarterbacks stepping into this exact same Jets offense, and we've seen plenty of success. All right, we're going to get back with more. In fact, we're going to hear from the man on the hot seat, hear what Zach Wilson says more about taking chances. That's next on Ready, Set, Jets. All right, Zach Wilson has gone 3 games without an interception, has actually only thrown 1 in his last 6 games. But is it coming at the expense of not scoring touchdowns? He was asked about taking chances in tight passing windows by Connor Hughes of SNY.
It's always judgment-based, because I'll go back and watch a clip of whatever, and I'm like, gosh, I could have let that one go. This is what I felt and saw out there. I could have let that one go. And then there's other ones I didn't, and I'm like, thank goodness I didn't throw that. You know what I mean? And I think it's always finding that fine line. You know, where is the risk and reward on that play? Is it something that my team needs me to thread one in there, and it's worth maybe throwing a pick here and there, and we get a couple touchdowns out of it, or, you know, do we got to play the next down? And I think that's always the balance of trying to figure that out.
He's saying all of the right things about balancing his chance taking, but the in-game decision making is still a little bit suspect. The question is he taking enough steps forward to compensate when he takes steps back?
Well, you know, he needs to get a little bit better with you know, with his risk taking. I think, you know, sometimes, you know, what happens, and I dealt with this when I was quarterback in Miami. You have such a good defense on that side of the ball, and a defensive minded head coach, and, you know, everything that's coming at you is, you know, stay in the game, just don't you know, don't lose the game, you know, stay conservative, you know, keep the chains moving, and you do all that, and then you see that you miss opportunities out there. And you know, I think it's been drilled into him throughout this preseason, and as the season's been going, is our defense is going to keep us in every game, so don't you know, don't take any chances. But at this point in the season, you know, he's got to take some more chances. There are plays out there, watching the film, there are plays to be made, and there are simple plays to be made, and you know, there's sometimes that you know, Zach's footwork isn't aligning with the play, and he's late, you know, to get his feet set, so that decision, you know, doesn't get he doesn't get to pull the trigger because his feet aren't set. So, you know, he's got to be a little bit more you know, adept at matching up his footwork with the play, and then, you know, seeing it and pulling the trigger and letting it go, because there's certainly plays that are left out on the table there.
But the big picture is the Jets are still 4-4, and instead of looking at the glass as half empty, there are some players that certainly look at it as half full. Quinnen Williams is looking at their season as half full. Here's his response to assessing the mindset of the team right now.
I think it's going pretty good, man. I think we sitting at a position at 4-4, and just got to find a way how to get better on offense and defense, and get better on the things that we can do to win football games. We still in a positive mindset. We sitting at 4-4 right now. We got a good road ahead of us. Just got to learn from our mistakes, man. That was a great offense, a great team in general.
How much easier is it to accomplish moving in the right direction when praise is being thrown around instead of blame around the locker room?
Yeah, well, look, they're not at a point in the season just yet that you know, people are going to start blaming anyone else. 4-4, there are a lot of teams sitting right around them in the AFC. There's no one that's running away with the AFC right now, so they're still in good position. You know, they've put themselves in good position to be where they're at right now, and you know, going forward, you win a couple games here, and you know, 2-3 weeks from now, you know, they could be right in that playoff picture again.
Hey, man, I mean, all it takes is something to turn around. We see how quickly things can happen in the NFL. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk more a little bit about Quinnen, hear what Coach Saleh really thinks about his production this season. That's when we come back on Ready, Set, Jets. You know, if the game were played on paper, it seemed like Quinnen Williams is having a down year, but it's not. It's played on the turf. And anyone who's watched any of these Jets games knows that Williams is blowing up plays left and right, and that isn't lost on their head coach. Here's what Coach Saleh said after he was asked by ESPN's Rich Cimini about Quinnen's sack numbers being down this year.
I do think sack production is a very overrated stat. I think it's a cool stat that gets guys paid, but it is not the indicative number in terms of, because I've seen guys who get sacks who get lucky as excuse my language, lucky as heck. But when you look at Quinnen, teams are going out of their way to game plan Quinnen to try to take him out of the game. But he's still absolutely wrecking run games. Teams got to pick their poison. You want to pay attention to Quinnen, our other guys are going to be productive. You want to pay attention to the edge rushers, it's going to open up for our inside guys. So the overall sack production, like I said, is an overrated stat. Quinnen Williams is one of the top 5 defensive players in all of football, and he's proving it down in and down out. And unfortunately, we live in a society where sack production is the measure of how good a player is, and it's not even close. He's wrecking games.
There's no doubt his sack numbers are down, but you can probably stop his sacks, but you can't stop the pressure that this guy gives, what he does to the run game, to the screen game. From a quarterback's perspective, how difficult is it for an offensive line to game plan against a guy who puts so much pressure up the middle?
Yeah, well, certainly, he puts pressure on quarterbacks. If you watch any game that the Jets have played this season, you see quarterbacks that are under duress. And, a big part of that is because Quinnen Williams is able to push the pocket and collapse the pocket right in the middle and right in the face of a quarterback. And that allows those edge rushers to really get after him. And you're seeing the production in Bryce Huff. You're seeing the production in Jermaine Johnson. You're even seeing the production with Quentin Jefferson on the inside, on the other side of Quinnen. He's just pushing quarterbacks to all those other players by the pressure that he creates. So, even though the numbers aren't there, the production you see on the film is certainly still there.
Yeah, and well worth it. He's not just the best player on the defense. He might be the best player on the entire Jets team, without a doubt. All right. Jay, thanks so much for your insights here. And by the way, this next Sunday, the second Sunday night game of the season for the Jets. So for the second time this season, Jay and I will have an immediate post-game reaction on Jets Late Night. Jay's going to join me in studio. He's going to break down a couple of big plays from the game. Otis Livingston will have interviews with the players. It's Jets Late Night, Sunday after the late news. And we will be here, of course, every week to break down the hidden meanings in all of these Jets press conferences. Thanks for watching. Ready, Set, Jets.